Record to the cloud. All right, T, go on, man. You are a pain in the ass. I got a cat that's worse than a dog. And they're usually cats, they come to you when you don't want them and don't come to you when you want them.
And
This
when's JJ get back today?
He gets back this evening. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, welcome to the first Tuesday of the Kong Family Show with our exceptional repeat guest, Mr. Dan Edland. Morning to you, brother.
Yeah.
So what's on your mind? You got to have something pressing to talk about. It's getting interesting. I noticed that some of my posts, man, like I posted something with prescription drugs and the whole thing with Canada and blah, blah, blah. I've got an alcoholic pill popper that's giving me grief, and it's not that I'm picking on him. I'm not picking on him. Told me I need to humble myself. I'm like, I'm pretty humble. I'm just trying to speak directly and candidly regarding the things that people need to pay attention to. What I am not is pitiful. And they've been selling me a whole line of pity, and I guess only alcoholics in recovery can find the truth. No one else can.
And it's people, and it's sad because the people that are on that train of the medication and endlessly listening to doctors and things, they think they're listening to somebody who just knows better. And the interesting thing about that is, we know what we've seen with this water with people, but for somebody who's never been down that path or experienced it, it's tough for them to get open-minded and think that there's something else out there, and they can be so closed off, and they're so just stuck in this rut.
Yeah. What about this one? How about this token reply? I only believe in peer-reviewed studies. That's all I need. Golly. Well, I get it. But you could have 999 damn studies go out and they all crash and burn with the efficacy of the drug they're pimping, and then they turn around and find one that has a little inkling of hope, a little inkling of possibility, and they publish that one, and that's peer reviewed.
Well, and you got to understand that's the process too. And you got these companies, you've got pharmaceutical companies that are generating tens and tens of billions of dollars. You don't think you can get somebody to sway on a piece of paper?
Right.
It's just, they don't even think about the obviousness of it. And there's so much money out there. It's a sad situation. And these people that are putting out their opinions or testing, it's very, very easy if they're on one side of that, or if they're sitting on top of the fence going, man, I'm really not sure. Well, you sure now? It's easy to sway those people,
it's almost like that's become the norm. If you can put money in my pocket and I'm in a position of leadership, hey, come on board, man. We're going to make it happen. I don't care if it's politics. I don't care if it's medicine. I don't care if it's law. Just the situation this weekend with my brother getting pulled over and, just crazy stuff. Crazy stuff, just what the cops said to him, just insane, and it's like, dude, how do you even think of saying something like that? The guy just pulled over, car lugging around, revved his engine just to kind of keep it juiced, but it was in park. No, cop revved his engine and told him he's going to shoot him if he doesn't park the car, and he's like, the car's parked.
Really
crazy stuff, But again, it's just all this manipulated truth, and you realize that, it's too much, man, and people just need to wake up. I'm not saying don't trust everybody, but we've got to vet. We've got to be able to have a little more discernment than we do. We just can't be blindly doing everything that we're doing. Or, if we do, we're going to keep getting what we're getting, right?
Well, and the thing is you got to have a conversation with people too, and you say, okay, so people have been really, really, truly relying on doctors heavily for 50 years, and where's that situation got us? We lead the world in every known disease known to man. We lead the pharmaceutical industry. We're dispensing more drugs than any 10 countries combined. Is that the kind of system that you want to be a part of? And people have to realize when they get put on that medication, the intent of the doctor is for them to be on that medication for life. It's not, hey, Shawn, I'm going to help you out, and in 2 years we're going to, there's an answer. It's just a Band-Aid, you know what I mean? It's like going to your check engine light and going, man, I'm sick of looking at that light, and then popping the the wire. Oh, well, the light's off. Well, you didn't change anything. You just, you're not getting to the root cause of anything. And I mean, at some point, we're heading to $4 trillion a year on healthcare next year. 90% of it's on sick care. I mean, there has to be an alternative. There has to be, a different way of looking at it, because it's just too much,
Well, and I think that's where we come in, not what we have isn't the end all be all. A nice Huskies shirt, by the way, dog.
Oh,
that's clean. It's the fact that we're doing what we can to wake people up to alternative. That's my whole priority, is to wake people up to natural alternative. And it wasn't an alternative before the allopathic got into it, but again, that's rhetoric that I find myself using, language that I find myself using by default because the system has made it so. But at the end of the day, we're, again, everything you said about, our healthcare and how we're approaching things and trusting doctors, and we have no idea that we're customers. Yeah. We have no idea that they want to keep us. They want to manage pain. They want to manage our conditions. They don't want to get to the root cause of it. And I think that's what we're doing. And I think that's where people are freaking out. Wouldn't you agree? People look at us like you're nuts. There's no way. My doctor said if I put this lump of coal up my ass, it's going to make my hair come back to normal.
Well, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but look what they did with the opioid industry. I mean, these guys are dispensing these things like they're candy bars, and they were insane.
Halloween.
They would never, ever, ever in their lifetime give out the doses that they are. I watched a special on 60 Minutes. I mean, one guy had doled out, 270,000, and he was in this town in Arkansas that with like 9,000 people. It would have been like 434 oxys for everybody in the town. It's like, but he was highly incentivized by the pharmaceutical community and paid to do so. And the thing is people have to understand these, there's probably some great people out there that, that wear the white coat, but the bottom line is the only person that talks to them after, they graduate from college with a medical degree is the pharmaceutical reps. And it's just, there has to be a change in the system. They have to look at another way. I mean, look at the people out there, man. They're like walking around like zombies. They're getting bigger, they're getting fatter, it's just, it's
dumber.
It's not a conspiracy.
No. And I think that's it. And I always tell people, denial isn't just a bull rider circuit that comes to Billings every fall, man.
Right.
It's like we've got to come to terms with the truth about what we're doing. And you talked about the rabbit hole. Good Lord. When I was in college, I was playing basketball. I was finishing up at the Northern Montana College up on the High Line, and our team doctor was a real cool dude. Old vet, man, real old vet. But I remember at one point in time, I had some deals with my ankle, and he was getting in the process of sending me to a specialist. I'd gone to him on 3 different occasions. And in those 3 occasions, while we're there, small Northern Montana, fairly rural hospital, 4 pharmaceutical reps had come on board. 2 of them were college athletes that I'd known in my window. They'd graduated. Hey, you're charming. You got away with people. You got a gift of gab. They pimped me. I got approached by a buddy of mine. He's like, Wetzel, you'll kill this. These drugs, he says, they're coming out. He says, the doctors want them. It's just our job to go in and meet doctors. And I'm like, and I wasn't so keen as I am now as to what was going on, but just there was something in my gut, having seen some addictions and seen some stuff in my lifetime on a close personal level, family member, it's like, yeah, that's the last thing I want to do is go out there and pimp that mess, because all I've seen that do is just steal people's souls and take them completely out of who they are and into this zombified, catatonic mess, bump on a log.
Well, and in the whole thing with that is, it's like anything in history. I think it has to get a little bit worse before it gets better. But the good news is in regards to the water. I mean, I think, we're 41, 42 years to sell the first million machines. We're tracking selling the second million in about 4.5. So definitely making huge strides. And I think, like anything else, before it's universally accepted, it's always ridiculed, violently opposed. I mean, you know, and I believe that it's coming, and with that will come the research and stuff like that. But then, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, but also there's the very real possibility that, the pharmaceuticals hear about how effective this can be in healing the body itself, giving the body the chance to heal itself, and maybe step in at some point, because they have big dollars. I mean, I was just reading an article yesterday that said the cannabis industry in 2020 is going to affect over $21 billion in profits from the pharmaceutical. And I don't think that, not making any kind of claims, I just know what it's done to heal my own body. But I believe that the healing properties and what takes place could affect those bottom line dollars too. And, they might not be so welcoming. I mean, but the thing is, I believe the peer reviewed studies will come. And, if you look at things that were, a lot of things are in the light. I mean, look at this computer we're talking on. I mean, somebody told Gates one time, and he thought he was a brilliant guy, that, hey, listen, yeah, the money's in the hardware. Go ahead and keep the guts. It was probably the largest transfer of wealth in the history of mankind. That guy, and, he was a CEO of IBM at the time. Probably a lot of people would have considered him to be a pretty intelligent guy, and he gave away
visionary.
Yeah, and he gave away the largest fortune in the history of mankind to Gates, and Gates walked away with the kiddie bar. Or, you and I are probably in that age where I can remember people going, "Who in the hell needs a phone in their car? Now we can't even have lunch with our girlfriend without looking at it." I mean, people don't know what they want. They don't know what's good for them, and they definitely have no vision of what's next.
No, and that's it. They just keep blindly getting in line just to see what happens.
Yeah, but this will be the kind of thing that 5 to 7 years from now, people are lining up to get just because their neighbor got one. Right. It won't be so violently opposed. I always tell people, you could stop 100 people on the street and 99 of them won't even know what Kangen water is. But in 5 years, you won't be able to stop somebody on the street that hasn't heard about it. And I think in 7 to 10 years, you won't be able to stop somebody that doesn't know someone that has one.
That's it. No, that's it. And I mean, ideally and prayerfully and hopefully that's the case, Yeah. But I know it's a matter of time. I know it's an eventuality. It's just, but that's where, again, I love this means, McGaffin put together something on just the different costs and markups of different respective products out there, and how, they're marked up just unbelievably. And that you get to these and they're only marked up like, 2.5 times. And this is really the only mechanism to, the direct sales industry is really the only venue to market a product like this. I mean, if it's considered a medical device in the healthiest country of Japan with the highest standards of determining a medical device on the planet, yet it's a health and wellness product here, I like that. There was a time where I was hoping it would be a medical product or a medical device eventually. I'd heard that there was some doctors out there working on trying to get a type 2 classification from a medical device standpoint. And as much as it is intriguing as it sounds, I was still kind of like, no, man, it's like, I don't know. It's just hard to explain illustration-wise what it means to have a product of this caliber, and it's sold to us as a health and wellness product when it has all the credentials and all the, it's being lauded as it is on a medical device level in Japan.
Well, what I get, what kills me is that people go, "Oh my God, $4,000, that's expensive." And I mean, dude, we save so much money. I mean, we were talking the other day about the soap chips. We were talking about this. We're talking about all the hundreds of uses around the house, from cleaning the carpet to putting the beauty water on the dog when it gets hot spots, to doing our laundry, to doing the 2.5 in the bathroom. I mean, you save so much. And, we're talking about a 52% markup, but nobody has a problem paying 600 to 900% for something that, that the companies openly admit we put a battery in here so the thing's obsolete in 24 months. They can't wrap their head around it, but this is a 600 to 900% markup.
Easy.
And when somebody talks about, whoa, dude, it's 52%. I mean, if everything in your life was 52%, you'd have a lot more money in your pocket. And you're talking about something that's ironclad 20, 25 years that's not only going to save you money, but it's tax deductible. You could, most of the people I know end up with offsetting a lot of the costs. I mean, when people really boil this thing down, it's the biggest no-brainer I've ever seen. And I mean, and all they have to really do is do the math, but they're standing there holding 5.5 a gallon of Aquafina as they tell you how expensive 17 cents is. Yeah.
No, I get it.
It's the frog theory, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you pay $4 at a time, but they just look at the extra 3 zeros and go, oh my God, they don't realize you're buying a machine every 18 to 24 months. You're just getting benefits.
That's a beautiful way of putting it, my man. I mean, that's a fantastic way of putting it.
Yeah, you're already paying for it, brother. You're just not getting any of the benefits.
Yeah. No, that's it. You going back to the whole, you talked about cannabis. We're getting into the hemp industry because of just obviously its known purported, multitudinal capabilities. And right now the sexy girl on the street walking around in fishnets and stilettos is the CBD oil. But you were talking about batteries. And one of the things I learned in one of our co-op meetings recently was the fact that the carbon, when you don't grow these things to flower and you just grow them in stalks and you want them to grow tall and high so their stalks get bigger. I guess the carbon inside the hemp is so pure that they are doing some test runs right now that are finding that they are charging cell phone, tablet, Kindle, those types of batteries in like 15 seconds, full juice, So, I like that as far as like maybe the girl I want to marry in the hemp industry, because at the end of the day, the technology is warranting it because of our need for convenience, But then it also gets to the point you're talking about the machine jumping in at some point in time. There's already articles I've been reading that Monsanto's trying to get into the cannabis industry. And who in the hell wants to do that with Monsanto's clear record on what they're not only doing for weed killers and all that other stuff, but the food, the fact that glyphosate is in so much food blows my mind.
Well, and it's unfortunately probably inevitable that they are, because what I've read is they've been stockpiling seeds. What they do is they wait for the public sentiment to go to where, a lot of people were very, very against marijuana 10, 15 years ago. Now it's more widely accepted. And because of the revenue stream that it's creating, all the states will end up falling. I mean, all the states will end up falling. I mean, my buddies in the Bible Belt in Oklahoma, and it doesn't get any more Bible Belt than that, and they're growing like madmen out there. I mean, it's just amazing. But the thing is, unfortunately, companies like, it's kind of like prohibition, everybody was outlawed, going to jail, this, that, and the other. But then when it all came to pass and they repealed that, where you really had 8 or 10 tentacles that controlled the alcohol industry. And unfortunately, with the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that weed's going to generate in the next couple of decades, you're not going to be able to keep corporate America out. They're going to put their stranglehold on things one way or another.
Yeah, it's just crazy, unfortunate. But that's, again, where we got to be vigilant. We got to be diligent on why we're doing what we're doing and try and find ways to, not circumvent, but fight those influences,
Well, and if you know anybody in that industry, if you tell them, introduce them to the beauty water, man, I'll tell you that you won't even believe what that's doing with plants, man. I mean, I've got guys that are doing, they're doing side-by-sides with tap and that, and you just wouldn't even believe it. I mean, the stalks grow like bamboo sticks. They're so strong.
Right. Hey, you know what's funny? Talking about plants, I got to show you some stuff. I mean, look at that guy right there. Can you see him?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got So I move up here to my natural father's house 2 years ago. Some of these things were so sick. Like, look at this big leaf eater guy here. There were like 5 big palm leaves or whatever you call on them. Can you see that?
Yeah.
There were 5 on there.
Hmm.
And this thing's got like almost 2 dozen.
Yeah.
This guy here was hanging on a thread.
That's all just strictly beauty water?
It's all strictly beauty water. And I save it right here in that little container.
Right.
Down by the sink there, I save that. So every time I make 9.5, I fill that up. I either throw it in my plant, or throw it in my laundry.
Yeah.
You know, it's just been amazing what these plants have done to take off with the beauty water. And I remember in Billings, we did we did an experiment in our backyard at one point in time, and we watered 3 rows. Let's see, well, we watered a row of carrots, and we mixed it up. The plants that we watered with beauty water versus the plants that we watered with just city tap water, it was so marked, I can't even begin to explain. It was such a huge difference. The strawberries went nuts.
Yeah.
So, it's just the uses, the applications of this technology are they're endless, really.
Well, and that's the thing when we start talking about the machine. I mean, people want to go, God, that's a lot for a water filter. I mean, and that's the deal. When people don't give an adequate representation of what this device does, I mean, when you really break it down, if you only had the 11.5 and the 2.5, you'd buy the machine. If you really took time to understand what's on your fruits and vegetables, I mean, people say, well, they always come out with the line, they're expensive. I mean, if you really just broke down the beauty water, it has tons of uses. All the women that I know, they stop putting the creams and the potions and the lotions on their face. I mean, the 2.5 for 50 reasons around the home, the 11.5, degreaser, cleaning off grease hoods. I mean, it's just, where do you even start? I mean, you could really break it down to 4 or 5 different components. And if you realistically were educated on those, any one of those is worth the price. I mean,
yeah. It's funny. My brother, he's got a 67 T-Bird. It's so clean, man. It's got a white hard top on it, and it's got a metallic blue. He just took the hood up in that thing last week, and he uses some gunk gone or goo gone or something that he puts in there, but then it smells like gasoline once your engine gets going. Mm-hmm. So it might break down all that stuff. He's done that a couple times before. And I'm like, Bud, you've got to use the 11.5. Just try it. Mm-hmm. He calls me up. He's all nippled up. He's like, dude, totally. And he says, I revved it up and, I started it and it doesn't smell anything like gas. It doesn't smell anything burning off. And I'm like, well, because it's just water, Bud. He's like, no, I get that. But I just didn't realize the profound power that this had to take oil off the engine, grease off the engine,
Yeah, I got a guy that uses it, and now he implements it in his auto detailing business. And he's like, man, he goes, I literally ran away from you for 2 years because I just knew how expensive those machines are. And he uses some kind of fluid that what he'll do is then he'll water it down. And he was using tap water before. But this industrial stuff he was ordering was $700, $800, $900 for this thing, and then he would mix it with water. He goes, I was going through 2 of those industrial cans a month. He goes, since I've got the machine, he goes, I mixed the ratio completely different. He goes, I've had one of those cans has now lasted me 4 months. So he's realistically saving $1,100 to $1,300 a month. And I've also got a guy out here who restores a bunch, and I'm not kidding. The guy's he keeps about 12 to 18 Mercedes at a time. He finds them, He finds them cheap. He finds them all over. And what he does, he cleans up the inside and the outside, and then just moves them for a little markup. And for the last probably 14 months, I mean, he doesn't use anything but 2.5 and 11.5. He'll go in 11.5, those carpets, everything. But he goes, Dan, I am completely restoring these cars chemical free. There's no smell. There's no chemicals. There's nothing. And he goes, and they're coming out amazing. I mean, people always rave about how new the carpet looks. And I mean, he's shown me some before and after. I mean, it's just amazing. But the guy, I mean, he bought the thing for his family, but he goes, dude, he goes, it's worth it just for the auto detailing. He goes, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean,
it's really an evolution, because you get to hear people get back to you with things. Some women call me and it's just all about the cooking aspects, and some people call me and it's all about the, now I've got growers in Oklahoma, and it's just that, I mean, they're not even really tripping about putting the antioxidants in their bodies. They're so enamored what it's doing with the plants. I'm like, well, while you're feeding those plants, don't forget about yourself.
Right. No, you said, again, the evolution.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. And I think we're doing everything we can to, lead the way to this evolution, societally speaking, and again, people look at us like we're off our rocker.
Yeah.
Half the time. Yet you can, it's funny you say that. I mean, there's so many people that have given me grief over the years at some level of chop busting, just give me grief. Yeah, whatever, Wetzel, yeah, the water boy. And I always tell them I'm the water man.
Right.
But I mean, yet at the same time, they're the ones singing its praises after they finally woke up. And unfortunately, somebody waits until it's the 11th hour.
Sure.
That's one of the phenomenons that I'm finding, is that people keep telling me they can't afford it, they can't afford it, they can't afford it. Yet, they're spending, a night's hospital stay at the Chateau de Hospital.
What's that rent a day?
An average of like $6,000 a night, but insurance covers it. Look at these mammographies. They've been proven to help spread cancer. They've been proven to be not very good to the human body in the process of trying to find out what's not good in the human body. And it just almost perpetuates itself. And people aren't even blinking.
No.
Yet this thermography is coming out, and it's basically with thermal heat, you can recognize and identify through the heat in your body where it's hotter in very high levels. You can see that's where the cancer, that's where the disease is. And then, but that's not covered by insurance.
Right.
Because here's my thing. It's always been a three-headed monster. You've got the pharmaceutical industry is pimping their stuff to the doctors, who are giving their stuff to the patients, and the insurance industry is covering it all. And it's no wonder people want free insurance or universal health care, because everything's piped into that funnel, down that trail, and we're all being steered in that direction. Sure. And I just think that's why I'm so thankful and humbled to be able to have something like this, to be able to give somebody options outside of that paradigm, so to speak, that we're being just drugged through, because it showed there's no real numbers to substantiate it at all. Again, they can have. My mom was a part of a cancer. She went down. My mom, God bless her. She had B-cell lymphoma, bone marrow metastasis. She had an abdominal-sized cantaloupe in her abdomen, or a cantaloupe-sized mass in her abdomen. And they went down, and it was either go home and get your affairs in order, or go down to Denver and become part of this stem cell research project.
Sure.
She was one of like 14 of a couple hundred people to survive the study. And God bless her, but she lauds the American Cancer Society. She gives them all the credit in the world. I'm like, Mom, you're the miracle. You're the one that survived. What about the other 93% that didn't survive this study?
Yeah.
They're not necessarily singing the praises of this research in this American Cancer Society. I mean, what are we talking about here? You know, awareness, Relay for Life, breast cancer awareness. Everyone's wearing pink and pro sports, and it's bullshit to me. It's just a big commercial for everyone to go, oh, the American Cancer Society, they really have our best interests at heart. Let's just go to them because they've played on the heartstrings of people around this country for years, and everyone makes their decisions emotionally. They don't think objectively. They don't think critically. They just want to believe what they want to believe, and they want to hope with all their heart that this is going to do it for them.
And they usually have to react out of desperation. You know, they usually have to, because at that point, there's so few choices, right? Because they didn't consider anything other before that. You know, it's funny you bring up the American Cancer Society. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but people should really do research on who they take their dollars from. I mean, they take a ton of dollars from industries that are known to be heavily involved in cancer. I mean, like the meat industry and things like that. I mean, it's just the lobbyists that work behind it and give the dollars. I mean, if you really, I think there's a documentary on it. It's called What the Health or something like that. But there's some really good documentaries out there that talk about, you know, where do the dollars that from the American Cancer Society come from? And when you start peeling back the onion, man, it's unbelievable. I mean, but you know, I don't want to go there on that. That's for people to do their own research. But
that's the thing. Most of us are only focused on the quilt and the sheet.
Sure.
No one gets under the covers on any of this stuff.
No.
And we've just become this society that we see something on the surface that looks like it might resemble that which we're trying to justify or defend, and we stick with that. Yet we don't peel a layer or two back and just to realize that, hey, that's a big smoke screen. Yeah. And again, that's why I think what we're doing is so critical, you know.
Well, it's kind of like you said. I mean, people. We were watching a thing last night, and they said, I think it was Nixon that said it, and said nothing is real to the American public, and they see it on a television, and that's why when they show them something, they show them, you know, Swedish hospital with a little girl laying in a bed with her head shaved, and Russell Wilson standing there with a pink shirt on, handing her a stuffed animal, and that's, you know, this. F cancer movement, but yet then the person turns off the TV and runs down to McDonald's and grabs a Coke and gives his kid a Big Mac and lets his 4-year-old kid play around on a cell phone. That's, you know, I mean, it's just people don't even know why. I truly believe people don't even know why they're getting sick anymore, because they're getting inundated from so many areas. And even like Bob Wright, when he talked about, like when he was on last week, I mean, they don't even know what's coming, but, you know, they'll say, hey, you know, you want this bigger, faster, quicker, right? You don't want to wait for a connection. God forbid you can't look at Facebook in every, you know, place you want to go on earth. And so with the introduction of 5G, I mean, they roll these things out in the name of dollars, but there's been no research done on what that does to the human body or the long-term effects. And, you know, and it's like you said, they're being herded because of the food, because of the water, because of the choices, because of the stuff that's sprayed on the food. And, you know, we're herded into this thing called the pharmaceutical line, and most people get there at 35 or 40, and inevitably 1 becomes 3, becomes 5, and people are kind of getting resigned in this country to, hey, at 50 years old, I'm okay with being on 5.2 medications, you know, and it's incredibly sad.
They rationalize it.
Sure.
They rationalize it.
Yeah, it's a broken system.
No, and again, I think that's why what we're doing is so critical, is we're giving people options to step out of that system and find solutions that are a lot more effective for them and their own health. You know, go ahead.
Oh, no, what I was saying is what I love most when I look about my journey on the water is, see, when I got introduced to the water, it wasn't just about the water. It was the way the water made me feel. And me as a human being, it opened me up to the possibilities of, wow, if I was missing this, what else was I missing? So I got inquisitive about the food that I was putting in me, and I learned more. I took time to do, education and learn about the dairy industry. And I've since, I've stopped, I haven't had a glass of milk in 9 months. And, the thing is it's opened me up to the possibility, because before, I'm not going to lie, I was fast food, 2 Cokes a day, couple Aquafinas. I gave no thought to what I put in my body. And I just, I was not evolving on a lot of levels. So what I liked is how it opened me up to the possibility of, wow, if just changing one thing like my water can make me feel this different, what else might be out there? And then, with the introduction and meeting Liz, really changed the food aspect and eating more, eating healthier and learning about things. And I think people forget how good the human body is designed to make you feel.
I don't think they really understand. I don't even think they forget. I think people don't understand. You've got 2 generations now that have been raised in this sick care industry.
For sure.
So they have no inclination in my mind that the human body was designed to heal itself. Even though you ask them, did you ever break something? Have you ever cut yourself? Is that cut still open? Is that still broken? And they kind of look at you and they're like, well, no, of course not. I'm like, well, what healed it? The medicines healed it? Well, the doctor healed it with surgery. I'm like, the doctor might have put it together and reassembled it with surgery, and I can dig that, but it didn't. The bone didn't heal itself, or the bone didn't heal because of the doctor's deal. The bone healed itself because of the human body's capability to do what it was designed to do. Hey, before we forget, I want to know if you've seen this. I'm going to drop this on you. I'm going to screen share. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds long, and I think it's important that while we're kind of talking about it, we can kind of pick this open a little bit. But this is crazy. What is 5G? This is an animated little gig. Have you seen this?
Let me see it. I haven't seen it.
What is 5G, and how does this technology affect me? 5G technology will use extremely high millimeter wave frequencies. Instead of having one large phone tower like we currently have for our 4G system, 5G will also have antennae or small cells set up anywhere between 100 to 500 meters on light poles, outside schools, homes, and shopping centers. 5G is designed to deliver concentrated and focused electromagnetic radiation and will result in a massive increase in inescapable, involuntary exposure to wireless radiation. ARPANSA, the Australian Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency, who set the safety standard limits, say that the 5G network is included within their limits. However, this limit is set at 100 times higher than most other countries worldwide. ARPANSA claim that they are an independent organisation. However, they receive $1 million annually from the wireless industry. The evidence that radio frequency radiation is harmful to living organisms forms a literature base of over 10,000 peer-reviewed studies. The peer-reviewed literature shows there are a number of serious health concerns linked with the technology 5G will use. Damage goes well beyond the human race, as there is growing evidence of harmful effects to both plants and animals. Faster internet should not come at a cost this great to the planet and all its living creatures. Let's stop this 5G rollout together. Sign and share the petition.
Wow.
And you sit there and you watch and you read that, like, some of these schools in inner cities and stuff that are kids are getting increased onsets of cancer, and they're realizing that they've got this big tower right above the school, and people can't quite put that together in terms of understanding what we're talking about. I think it speaks very clearly to the fact that, a lot of people will sit there and think that we're conspiracy theorists and everything that we're saying is just all based on conspiracy, yet all this stuff about the opioids, and this ain't no conspiracy. We're telling you this is what's going on, yet now you've got GlaxoSmithKline and Merck and Pfizer and whoever it was, I think it was GlaxoSmithKline that, they got busted for not only selling the opioids or pushing them as hard as they did, but also pushing the pills right after to address the opioid addiction, And it's just like, people, they want to believe it. They want to believe that which is the easiest for them to understand.
Well, it's funny that you brought up somebody bringing up peer reviewed, and here's the deal. Nobody's going to fund something that doesn't generate a ton of money. I mean, the reason that pharmaceutical companies get all the stuff reviewed is because they have umpteen billions of dollars to throw at it. And then here's the flip side of that. Here you have something that's peer reviewed, and there's a massive amount of risk, and they have so much money that they just make it go away anyway. It doesn't really matter. And it's really one of those things that, the money is always going to control. And the thing is, if people believe that the government or these huge companies are looking out for them as an individual or their family, feel incredibly bad for them, man, because they have to realize, I mean, really since the beginning of time, cash has been king. And now it's even more corporate than ever. And I mean, the fact that they're allowed to just roll this out, so you can get a phone call a little bit better when you're out in the woods, I mean, or faster internet in your home. I mean, they said it right there, increased all kinds of risks, plant life, people, this, that, the other. It shouldn't be allowed for any amount of money.
No.
I mean, any amount of money. If it's going to damage one person, one child, one person standing watering his lawn, it should not be acceptable. We live for 1,000 years without a telephone.
Right.
The speeds are just fine now. I'm perfectly okay with this not working any better than it does today, and it not hurting people. I mean, at what point do?
Yeah, I like being in the mountains and not having to sweat my phone.
I
like being able to check out and, just not have to worry about it. But again, it goes back to me. Again, here's some really heavy stuff, and maybe it's a little too deep for this conversation, but to me, it's population control. If it ain't vaccines, if it ain't drugs, if it ain't all this stuff, it's 5G now. And
I didn't want to go down that and say that, but that's exactly what was on my mind. Because if you look at the chart over the next 25 years, I mean, you're talking about going from, if you look back in history, how many years it took to go from 0 to 1 billion. And now we're doing that billion very, very, very quickly to the next one. And the rise from 8 to 12, I believe, is as fast as the rise was from 0 to 8. So it's going to happen very, very quickly. And, there's just not enough water and food and space to sustain whatever. And, so that's a whole nother conversation, but a very real conversation. I mean, for people that are open to it, Yeah,
no, you got to be open to it. Again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't dunk their head in it.
Yeah. I mean,
that's it.
Idiocracy isn't just a movie.
What's funny is that that movie came out. I remember I couldn't, I like that Wilson kid and this and that. I think I watched that movie for 15, 20 minutes and was just like my dumb factor level was just screaming, go away, just shut it down, walk away.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen the whole movie over the years in parts, being at someone's house. It's been, it's a number of years now. Shit, it's a 20-some-year-old movie. But just seeing the different things and listening to, it's the electrolytes,
Yeah.
Let's put electrolytes in plants and water everything with Gatorade. And
what are you going to do with water?
Even though it's kind of a subtle kind of dig on how we are, it's too real. I can't watch a movie like that when it reflects directly the people I'm surrounded by half the time. It's
sure.
Funny. It's not a comedy at that point. It's a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. When we think shit like that's funny, and in real life we're inundated with that reality. It's not fiction. And we're laughing at our stupidity.
That's the trick, right? They say the greatest trick is the devil didn't, nobody believed he exists, right? The greatest trick in the world. So people are sitting there laughing, pointing, not realize they have a Gatorade next to them as they're watching it. And what they're making fun of is their very existence that they're sitting through. And that's the thing for the people that really do run the show. They sit back and go, can you believe these guys don't have any clue any of this is going on?
Yeah. No, they have to be. They have to be. It's like people are just on puppet strings, Well, and argue and fight tooth and nail to justify a doctor or a government over and above their own ability to think clearly for themselves.
And the sad thing is they really know what's going to happen over the next 15, 30, 50 years. And they're not only do they know, but they're counting on it, and they're banking on those riches. And, the people will be the ones that'll be exploited, and that's, it's probably not going to change. It probably really won't. So
no, it doesn't.
I just have to hope that there's some enlightened people. I really just hope that there's people to connect with on a daily basis that are looking for another way. And I just try not to focus on the masses, because I just know how integrated I was, and how, skeptical I was. And I just think, man, I was missing everything. And I don't have time to convince guys like me. You know what I mean? That life's too short. I just like to find open people who are willing to listen, drink the water. I mean, I go in, I do, I just had a lady text me while I was doing, she goes, hey, I'm clearing out underneath the sink. I go in, I do a 15-minute demo in the house. I pop the machine in for 10 days. You don't feel amazing, don't get one.
Yeah, that's that simple.
Don't get one.
That's that simple. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I hate it when people are like, oh, you're trying to sell. You're out there trying to sell, and it's like, good Lord. It just doesn't make any sense. What's funny is that the other day, I've been going over, and I've mentioned it a couple of times, a teacher from my former high school. I never had him, but this guy's a legend, and his oldest son was a senior when I was a sophomore. His daughter's got the same birthday as me. We graduated together. I hold this guy in absolute high esteem, and he's been jocking some of the posts, and I think he jocked a post that I shared from Sam Tran. Of all guys, if you're going to jock something, I mean, I might be able to substantiate it if it's mine, but if it's Sam's,
right?
Oh, that guy's at a whole nother level. He's just at an entirely different level of realization as to what it's about.
Sure.
And we got and I'm just like, look, man, this stuff's working. He's old. Me and my wife went through chemo and radiation, and we beat it. Then you guys are lucky. But what I find is, and I told him this, what I find with people that beat it, the only ones that are jocking me are the ones that are telling everybody they beat cancer. There's almost an arrogance about it. When you beat cancer, you feel really extra special, when you got to realize the 95+% of the other people dealing with the same thing aren't so lucky. So does that warrant an arrogance, or just to cross your fingers and thank God I didn't drown in the sea of that and I'm still here?
Well, and the other part of that is, when people say to me that, I say, all the more reason to now get preventative. You've already been down that road. You certainly don't want to do it again. Well, it's not an issue for me anymore. Okay, have you ever done any research on the people that have, quote unquote, beat cancer through chemotherapy 60 months later? Have you ever looked at those numbers?
They're atrocious.
It's under 2%. So what I'm saying is, rather than being and hoping and, that you're one of the, and here's what I say to people. If it happened, and you're not going to change one single thing about what was going on before, the law of probability says it happens again. It's just like if I walk over and hit my head on a brick wall and I go, ow, it hurts. It doesn't matter if I walk away for 6 months, a year, 3 months, 5 years. If I walk up and hit my head against a brick, it's the same action is going to get the same result. And the thing is, if I'm not if I have chemo, and I'm fortunate enough, and I hope that people are, but if I don't change my food, if I don't look at my diet, if I don't look at my exercise, if I don't look at what I'm putting in my body, how in the world can I expect a different result?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And it's just, why wouldn't I want to try and do something else? Why wouldn't I want to try some prevention?
Yeah. And I think, again, I think that's where we're going. I really believe that people are starting to wake up. Again, not necessarily the masses. They've proven they're just absolutely oblivious to this.
Sure.
But I think that's where we're going, and I think that's why this is such a noble cause. I'm humbled every day I have the opportunity. I really thank God for it, and I'm humbled by it. This isn't something that I've ever really looked at like, yeah, I'm going to go make a ton of money selling people water machines. I've never grasped that dimension of it, until people tell me, oh, you're just trying to sell stuff. And I sit there and I'm like, maybe that's the assumption on your defensive-minded perspective on your end. But on my end, I've seen it, 10 years. You're talking, this machine's still putting out like I'm paying her, 10 years later. And it hasn't blinked. It hasn't showed any.
Do your price per gallon. You're at 10, 12, 14 cents. The guy walking into Costco going, man, those things are expensive. They're $3, $4, $5, $6 a gallon.
Yeah, they're paying more for water than gas, and they're complaining about this machine being too expensive.
But the thing is, if you ask them, do you pay more for your water or for your gas? 99 out of 100 are going to go, gas. What are you talking about? That's a dumb question. No, you just haven't done the math.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's not convenient.
And back to the theory of they don't want you to, because they are bottling something that cost them a tenth of a dime and selling it to you or selling it to the store for 67 cents. And then the store sells it to you for 99 cents. And you're walking in and paying $1 for something that's worthless, but it's okay because in your mind you go, well, it's just $1.
Yeah.
It's just $1. Well, yeah, but have you ever looked at the fact it's just 16 ounces? So for you to drink a gallon of water a day, you need 8 of those. And at $8 a gallon, it ain't a bargain, buddy.
No, not at all.
I mean, and then it's just, then you go into the uses. So what do you wash your produce with? Bottled water? Isn't that expensive? Well, no, I don't do that. I don't need to. I buy organic. Well, what do you do with the organics? Well, I mean, I come home and wash those in tap water. So you pay money for organics and then you come home and give them a chemical bath. Yeah. I mean, nothing they're doing is making sense, but they've never had to look at the behavior.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Well, yeah, man, I really wish this could have been on Facebook Live, but I know JJ will probably find a way to, I'm saving it to the cloud and not my computer. But yeah, this is a bare knuckle conversation on the truth of it. I like your style, Edland. I mean, again, I know you rub people the wrong way sometimes. I identify with that. Is that your intention? Of course not. But you're just desperately wanting people to see things the way you see them now, especially in the context of you talking about the guy that you didn't want to approach. You don't want to deal. You don't want to find any Dan Edlands.
No.
Because you know how difficult it will be to get their attention.
Oh my God.
I think it's fantastic that you've taken the approach you have, and I try and be as gentle as I can a lot of times, just to be respectful of people and stuff. But sometimes you just got to take the gloves off.
For sure.
People are not listening to your words. They're not listening to your kindness and your PC talk, and they're not hearing it. So even if you're subtly slipping something in there trying to be gentle, they're not hearing that,
For sure. Yeah, and we don't want to be in the arm twisting business. I mean, we understand that 99% of the people out there are very, very closed-minded. We're just looking for a small group of people that want to be conscious, and whether that conversation starts with, the body or your produce, or even just, some people, the only way you can get them to engage is, a lot of people now are jumping on the plastic train. Oh yeah, we do see that is kind of becoming a problem. Yeah, we're doing 350 million bottles a day. Do you think it's a problem?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a problem?
When I started this back in 2009, it was really November of 08, but in 2009 is when I really, kind of started figuring things out. And it's just amazing to me that, oh, rats, I lost my train of thought. I saw the garbage truck. He's yesterday, and I was wondering why he didn't come. Where were you? Where was that?
Yeah, what was it? What was a Magic doing in 2009? Probably 3,000 machines a month, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. The bottled water industry. When I jumped on board, the bottled water industry was a $12 billion industry.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I jumped on board with this technology. Now, in that 10-year window, that we, as small population as we are, have been advocating something of this magnitude, passionately, purposefully. It's over $20 billion industry now. It's grown. It's almost doubled in that time. And now people are finally starting, again, things get worse before they get better. But I think, again, with the indoctrination of our society, they get really, really worse before people do it. I'm so sick of going to funerals of cancer patients and people. Well, we tried everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they didn't try the water. Yet they didn't try the Yukon. Yet they didn't try CBD oil. They didn't try any of these naturally proven effective things. It isn't just about the water to me. It's just an overall approach to health.
Sure.
Obviously water might be the foundation. Kangen might be the foundation on which your whole health system is built. But if we're not looking at other dimensions, then we're just short-sighted. It isn't just the water. But when you just facilitate your body with the proper defense mechanisms, when you arm your body's defense system to fight off infection, to fight off disease, to just stay functioning at its highest level and most optimal level of function, then that's the victory. And there's people that are getting it, of course, but it's obviously not soon enough sometimes, because you got people that you lose. And what can you do, man? You just got to grin and bear it. And
well, you can always have and at least people now are starting under the conversation. Well, do you think tap water is ever going to get better? Well, probably not. Is bottled water ever going to get cheaper? You think Nestle's going to have hey, we care about the consumer month and just give it away for free? I mean, that's not going to happen, right? And so I think we're entering a perfect storm of, the plastic, the issue of that and everything, and people needing an answer on some kind of, what's a gallon of bottled water going to be in 10 years? Certainly not going to be less.
No, by no means.
Yeah.
But I mean, until the consumer public starts to be aware and starts to reflect their savvy by not buying this stuff,
sure,
then they're going to continue to just run roughshod over us, because that case of Albertsons water sitting out in front of the grocery store in 95-degree weather,
oh my God,
is on sale for $2.99 a case. Guess who used to buy that shit, not aware of what was going on? Hey, all right, I got it, it's cheap. Yeah.
If they did a real test on that water and then printed the results out and posted it anywhere and put 5,000 mothers and walked them by and paraded it and let them look at it, not a single one would. You'd be like, you could never give that to my kid. And then you tell them what it is and they're like, oh, I do that every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's where I think stuff like this is important. I love not only what we're doing, but I love this venue right here, because when we're able to share this to those that are willing to watch and listen, it just makes it a lot more effective tool in terms of being able to have a message out for people that we're not directly facing, because it's something that we were able to record, something that we were able to have this conversation on this venue, in this platform. And, for those out there that want the truth, they'll find it. They just got to peel a couple covers away, for like we were talking about earlier.
Hey, and the people will look at this in 5 years and go, hey, maybe those guys were onto something.
Right. I mean, I'd like to think that a broken clock's right at least twice a day, and I've benefited from some of that over the course of my lifetime. But
for sure,
this ain't no broken clock, and this is right all the time. And it's just a matter of, opening it up to people who really want the time.
It's true.
I'm not talking about Morris Day either.
All right, brother. I got a 10:30 install. I got to take the dogs to the park. But I appreciate your time. Hey, Paul, have a great day, brother.
Later, Edland.
All right,
Later,
buddy. Thanks, man. Thanks for everything.
you got it. Likewise.